Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hearthstone deck spotlight. My name is Tommy Wave, and today we are looking at Jeleniowaty's budget token Druid. They've been going through a bunch of different budget decks lately. Definitely recommend going to check that out if you are a budget deck aficionado like myself. And they've got something interesting here. Druid has been one of the better budget lists, I believe. Particularly the power of things like Savage Roar, and that a lot of aggro cards are common and rare. And they've come up with a pretty interesting budget token list here. Druid, the idea being that you're trying to produce a multitude of creatures. They don't have to necessarily be threats. They can just be 1/1 raptors or skeletons or any variety of things that other creatures vomit out. And you're going to try and go wide so that you can get a lot of power out of Savage Roar. You know, try and kill your opponent with one huge Alpha Strike. And also Power of the Wild to give your minions +1/+1. We previously saw this archetype be quite good with cards like Mark of the Lotus as well. And recently it's been one of the higher performing decks. But it's very different to previous iterations of Token Druid, where they do curve a bit higher, as opposed to some iterations which, you know, topped out at 5 for cards like Living Mana, or 4 for cards like Jeeves. So let's take a look. We've got a great selection of 1-drops here, with Firefly Diamol, Argent Squire being the best ones, Acris Veteran as the... this is almost always like a flexible slot. You can go with Acris Veteran, Glacial Shard, and... what's the other option? Abusive Sergeant. So you got a couple of options there, but I think Acris Veteran's the correct choice. At 2-drops, we've got the aforementioned Power of the Wild, one of the best cards in the deck. Armani Berserker proving to be a fantastic 2-drop in the current meta. And then Loot Hoarder, which is a bit of a curious one. Going to help us draw into our later game threats, our 5-drops and our 4-drops. But it does trade with essentially everything. So I'm a bit curious on that one. I'd love to know the thoughts behind including Loot Hoarder over a card like Druid of the Swarm or Tortolan Forager. Tortolan Forager being probably the most comparable one. Or even just including flexible cards like Acidic Swampoos or Direwolf Alpha especially. Or Direwolf being one of the best ways to capitalize on tokens, having a multitude of threats, as you can essentially buff your entire board with good placement. Moving on to the 3s, we've got Savage Roar, of course. Eggnapper is an interesting token producer. The initial body is quite bad, because as we said with Loot Hoarder, it does trade with everything. But then it also spits out these 2 raptors, which is going to help us stay on the board against a lot of decks that are going to try and compete with us. And also is quite good against control decks, because it leaves us with something after they do play a card like Hellfire or Blizzard or something like that. The lone rare in the deck is Vicious Fledgling, a fantastic craft if you don't have these. It goes into almost every budget aggressive deck, or can find a place in there. We don't have any beast synergies in here, but this is a card that snowballs quite well, and if our opponent doesn't find an answer for it, they could just find themselves getting eaten up by the bird. At 4, we've got the 2 Spellbreakers, which I love. Always put 1 or 2 of these in every budget deck, as it seems to shore up a lot of the matchups, gives you an out in a lot of situations. Grim Necromancer, this is a card that is another interesting budget token option. I think a lot of people would, if they had the option, would put Saronite Chain Gang here. But once again, pretty much the same things can be said about Grim Necromancer as Eggnapper, except Necromancer has that big 4 toughness body, so it's not going to die to as many random things on the board. Swipe here, great direct damage, and great way to get onto the board immediately, because we don't have a lot of charge or hasty threats. Rushy threats, I guess. And then we got the 5-drops, so... Jeleniowaty's gone for Cobalt Scalebane, Budget All-Star, and Druid of the Claw, which I think is quite interesting. I do like the having a charge minion in the deck, and the option of having that big body taunt. But I think a lot of people would probably put like Fungal Mancer in one of these slots. or even additionally. So I'd love to get their thoughts on why they didn't include Fungal Mancer, or if they were going to, what room they could make in the deck for that, and maybe just why they prefer Scalebane over Fungal Mancer in this situation. I think that's a really interesting topic that's worth kind of delving into, because the argument does come up quite a lot. Anyway, we're going to take this through some games and see how we go. Okay, we are here up against another Druid. So Jeleniowatyy has included a nice succinct mulligan guide. They basically just recommend that we curve out. So we have a 2 and a 3, and we have 8 1-drops in the deck. We're going to get 3 draws. Maybe we want to coin the Fledgling though. So maybe we send back the Armani and try and hit a 1-drop. Just so we can go 1 coin Fledgling. Let's try that out. Oof, unlucky. Unlucky, but I think we have a bit of a game plan, and if our opponent doesn't do anything about it, which is a little bit unlikely.
Time grows short.
Once again, this is Jeleniowaty's budget aggro token deck that we're playing here. And we don't want to see wild growth. We want to just see a hero power. Now wild growth lets them wild growth lets them swipe this. So I think we're just going to go with the Berserker. This might also bait out a Wrath. The other thing is they can play Oaken Summons, or just one of the big taunts that they have access to. Okay. So there's one Wrath out of the way. Now, fingers crossed that they just play a big taunt here, and we can silence our way through it and try and get some good Fledgling triggers. If it is the Golem, though, by silencing it, we allow it to attack. Naturalize. Okay. Okay. Naturalize another an interesting card in this kind of deck as well.
I wonder. Where shall I strike?
Off to the doctors, Jay. No worries. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for checking things out. All the VODs will be up on YouTube, and you can check them out on Twitch anyway. So hopefully the doctors goes all right for you. All right. We wanted to avoid running into Spreading Plague there.
Fluffy, Snuggles, fetch!
Go away.
This big old dragon.
Your magic shall not save me.
Last chance!
I think we still want to be conscious of playing around Spreading Plague. by playing the Diamol. Yeah, the whole idea was to play around Primordial Drake as best as we can. But, jeez. No taunts is a little rough.
Die, mage.
I love omelette. Job done.
Just going for the egg napper there instead of the couple of 1-drops. Draw armor. Probably draw here. Try and find some options.
The light protects me. The light protects me.
So, good thing is they can't, Ooh. Yeah, that's a lot of our late game hope. Ground down.
The dark path is my destiny.
I love omelets.
Speak your peace.
Fight.
They have the other swat. No dice on that one.
I concede.
It's possible that we were playing around a card that our opponent just never had, and we should have tried to push the game when the ball was in our court, if that makes sense. Interesting.
Versus Jaina.
All right,
You asked for it.
up against the mage.
Touch the wild.
So we'll definitely keep Firefly. And we'll keep Power of the Wild as not the most ideal 2-drop, but one that does the job.
Job's done.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think if we can hit an Omani, we're actually in an interesting situation, because we can go turn 3, we can Flame Elemental, Power of the Wild.
Who you want me kill?
Okay, so our opponent's probably like can coin Dragon's Breath as next turn. So I guess we want to get our damage in from Savage Roll, and we can recover with Cobalt Scalebane.
What to do?
Would we Egg Napper so that we have things in play? Yeah, guess we can do that.
I love omelets. Who you want me kill?
So our opponent would be on 9. But then they would take this turn. Or they would take nothing this turn. Come on, Arcane Intellect. Nice. So a bit of luck there. Got him. Taps out. GG. Nice. So, bit of a gambit. Being super aggressive early on, but paid off. Our opponent only has so many options and we were able to go under them. It's great.
Let the hunt begin.
Alright.
I must protect
Another hunter. Okay. So, do we keep Acris Veteran even though there are 1,000,001 candle shots around? Like, that's kind of one of the things I was talking about with the Loot Hoarder. Like, if our opponent has a candle shot here, it's just such an amazing trade for them. Like, they get rid of everything. So I think I'm willing to go to try and find a Firefly or a Diamol or an Argent Squire. But I will keep the Loot Hoarder. A little bit punished, but we'll see if our opponent just goes like candle shot turn 1. Please, please, I just want to be right. Please. Or they could just go like Diamol, Crackling Razor Maw, and we're just dead.
I moves quickly.
Or okay.
I will hunt you down.
That was weird.
Greetings, traveler. My greetings.
Okay. 2 Fireflies. Interesting.
It's time for a little blood.
Two Fireflies in Hunter. So we can coin swipe here. Kind of trade out Diamol and a swipe for their Tar Creeper, and yeah, it's not great.
I wonder.
I think what we'll do.
I wonder. I love omelets.
So hopefully this provokes them to like you know, trade one of the Fireflies and kill off the Raptors. Because having these things on 1 health is very different when we swipe. We can actually swipe to kill everything, whereas if we had swiped on our last turn, we'd like get to kill this, and then we can go face, but then they can just trade these 3 for the Armani Berserker, so they still have momentum. Ugh. Yucky. See if they want to trade these 2 pieces for the Berserker.
This beast will not be tamed.
That's pretty scary. Is this some kind of a variant on the Death Rattle Hunter decks? I didn't think those played Firefly, particularly not 2 Fireflies. Means the Tar Creepers would make sense.
Have enough mana.
The light protects me.
Would suck to see like a cube. Oh yeah, here's Death Rattle Hunter. So we're probably gonna get blown up by a bunch of charged Devil's Oars, unless we can find a Spellbreaker pretty quickly. That's not it.
Last chance.
Mind if I roll knee?
Ugh, that was not a good place for that to land. Do they have the trade into Devil's Oar, hit face, cube, play dead? No.
Fight hit the mark.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to tap out of this one. There's 2 Tar Creepers early on, which is a bit too much. And like obviously hindsight's 20/20, but if we had made the gambit on swiping it early on, then the second Dark Creeper would have just really put us even more behind than we already were. But still, I think this deck is a really good variant on a budget deck, and particularly on Token Druid. And the great thing is that Jeleniowatyy has included some upgrades, and I think we'll actually just quickly take a look at the in the full deck, I guess we'll call it. So we do get a bit more power here with the Crypt Lords. Interesting that the Crypt Lords weren't included in the original deck. I think this card is a really big role player in Token Druid, or this kind of aggressive Token Druid, because it helps our brittle threats and our vicious fledglings survive. It helps us trade a lot better. And they've even included a Crazed Alchemist for a bit of utility, and also goes great with the Crypt Lord to lethal your opponent out of nowhere. Bittertide Hydra and Living Mana, some epics to increase the power level here, and Leroy as well. I like those. Do like those a lot. Still got a swipe in here. Still got the Grim Necromancers, so I'd love to know why the Grim Necromancers as opposed to some Saronite Chain Gangs or something like that. Maybe they prefer the one extra body. Maybe they prefer the I guess bigger total stat pool or are they the same? No, they have the same total stat pool. So interesting. I'd love to get some insight behind that. And there's some tech cards in here with the Acidic Swampoos, but overall it's really those the Bittertide Hydra and the Living Mana as the major investments. But yeah, let me know what you think. Definitely go on a Hearthstone, give the deck a thumbs up if you enjoy it, a +1 or whatever it's called. Go check out Jeleniowatyy or So Magic, as I believe they used to be known. Go check them out. Check out their budget deck series. There's lots of fun ones in there. And yeah, let me know what you think. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.